My name is Emily. I'm currently working from home, earning a living. My father has been using computers for a long ago, so he taught me a lot about them. He was overjoyed like it was his success when I started working in computer-related jobs. I was very happy about this and felt proud of myself. Most of my work involves building programs, and I mostly sit in front of a computer for my tasks. Even on my days off, I never had a day without touching a computer, as I was programming as a hobby. After some time, my company adopted remote work, and I, who was already working on a computer, switched to working completely remotely. Since I already had a high-performance computer in my room, I decided to buy an expensive chair. It's to prevent back pain from sitting and working for long periods. Gradually, my computer area became more equipped, but somehow, this made me the target of my brother's wife, Catherine. It all started when Catherine and my brother Ethan, who had been married for less than half a year, came to our house. They came on a day that wasn't New Year's or Thanksgiving and said, "We've been talking about living in a detached house with Catherine. So, we wanted to show her the layout and what a family house looks like," my brother said. "I've always dreamed of living in a house because I grew up in an apartment," Catherine added as she activated her smartphone's camera function and started photographing the house. She took photos of the entire living room and then the kitchen. Next, the toilet and the bathroom. I wouldn't have thought to take pictures of those places. I thought, but for my sister-in-law, a family house was a dream to fulfill. I couldn't dampen her spirits. My parents were at a neighborhood basketball tournament, so they weren't home today. However, we knew a few days in advance that my brother and sister-in-law were coming. So my parents diligently cleaned the house. I offered to help, but they told me to focus on my work, so I only cleaned my room. Since it was after a big cleaning, I thought there wouldn't be anything dirty in the photos of the toilet and bathroom. Everything worrying was stored away. Then, as I followed my brother and sister-in-law around the house, Catherine went upstairs. On the second floor, my parents' bedroom, my brother's room, which is unused but intact, and my workspace. There was once a discussion about separating my workspace and bedroom. But since it would mean not having a room for my brother when he returned, we decided to leave it as is. I thought my brother, having his own family and being married to Catherine, wouldn't need to come back home often. As I was lost in these thoughts, Catherine and my brother were saying, "This was my room. It hasn't changed since I left home." "Oh. Does that mean you can come back anytime?" "Maybe, our parents want to live with Ethan." While I listened to their conversation, Catherine confidently opened the door to my parents' bedroom. I bet they never thought their bedroom would be shown to their daughter-in-law. In a rush, I said, "That's my parents' bedroom." But Catherine, while saying, "Oh, is that so?" activated her phone's camera and took a picture of the bedroom. I thought it was rude to take photos of someone else's bedroom, but I didn't say anything, fearing it might offend her. Then she opened the door to my room and started taking pictures. "What room is this?" "Your father's?" "Ah. No, this is my room." "What, Emily's room?" Catherine seemed very surprised, having already seen my parents' bedroom and seen a bed in this room. It was mine, but she seemed incredulous. "But, this computer and chair, they look really expensive. There are 3 screens for the computer, and the chair looks so robust. Is everything in this room yours, Emily?" "Yes, everything here is mine." As I nodded, Catherine's eyes widened even more. Maybe she was shocked to see how well equipped my computer area was. She put her hand on her chin, thinking for a moment, then started snapping photos of my computer area and my bed. "Hey, Catherine. Don't you think that's a bit too much?" I understand if Catherine wants to enrich her computer and peripherals by taking photos of my setup. However, taking pictures of my bed is quite embarrassing. However, even when I tried to stop her, Catherine said, "It's fine, it's not like it's diminishing anything," and continued taking photos. Finally, my brother put his hand on Catherine's shoulder and said, "Please, stop now," which made her stop taking pictures, albeit with a slightly displeased expression. It seemed even my brother thought her behavior was inappropriate. After they left, he sent me a message on Messenger saying, "That might have been a bit rude, sorry." Honestly, it was more than just a bit rude. But perhaps Catherine already saw us as family and felt closer to us. For me, even though my brother and Catherine are married, she and I are still practically strangers. I accept this as just a difference in how we perceive personal boundaries. However, when I mentioned that Catherine had also taken photos of the bedroom, my parents frowned as if they were displeased. Neither my brother nor I have entered our parents' bedroom often, let alone take pictures of it. My parents probably felt like their privacy was being intruded upon with dirty shoes. They seemed to not take it well and were telling my brother over the phone not to let it happen again. After that incident, Catherine stopped asking to see the house. But having taken the photos, she probably didn't need to visit anymore. Unbeknownst to us, she was planning something. One day, when my parents were out, Catherine came to our house. I was surprised to see her on the intercom monitor, expecting a delivery person. I opened the door in a hurry, and there she was with a suitcase. Had she fought with my brother and come to our house? No, if that were the case, it would be more comfortable for Catherine to return to her own family home rather than her in-laws. For me, living with Catherine, whom I feel a bit distant from, even for a few days, is somewhat disheartening. "Catherine, what's going on?" Without answering my question, Catherine just walked right into the house. As I stood there in shock, she sat down on the living room sofa and asked, "Are your father and mother not home? They're on a trip today and aren't home. I'm the only one here. My parents are expected back in 2 days," I told her. Was there something she needed from my parents? Perhaps Catherine was returning from a trip and came to give us some souvenirs. That would explain the suitcase. However, upon learning that my parents weren't home, Catherine looked at me intently and let out an exaggerated sigh. "Then, I'll just have to tell you directly, Emily. Can you just leave this house as soon as possible?" I didn't understand what she was saying and replied with a confused "huh?" Catherine sighed again and said, "Because, you're single, right? And unemployed. And yet, you're being spoiled by your parents, getting all those expensive things. It's unfair. The world isn't so sweet that you get money just for being alive." I really couldn't comprehend what Catherine was talking about. Indeed, I am single. That much I understand. But the part about being unemployed seems to be a misunderstanding. I was working in my room before Catherine arrived today. As I looked puzzled, Catherine clicked her tongue and showed me her phone's screen. It displayed a web page selling the same chair I had in my room, listed for a price similar to what I had paid. Catherine also showed me the sales page of the desktop computer I was using. "Everything in your room is so expensive." I was shocked to see that everything was pricier than the items in your parents' room. Well, the bed in your parents' room was expensive, but still. Did you look up the prices of things in my room without permission? I was horrified, realizing that the reason she took photos was to check the prices of the furniture. Could she not understand how inappropriate her actions were? It's not a big deal. Sooner or later, Ethan and I will live in this house anyway. I was just checking the furniture prices for that time. Living in this house. Weren't you supposed to build a detached house with my brother? I thought there was no option of living together since my brother talked about building a house with Catherine. Ethan seems to think that way, but I want to quickly own a detached house and become a housewife. To do that, I think the only way is to acquire a house that's already here. This house isn't old, so I thought it would be perfect. Catherine had yet to discuss the idea of living together in this house with my brother. That makes sense. If she had mentioned it, he would have likely opposed it. It's unimaginable for my brother to say he wants to live together while having a wife. I don't think living together is possible, you know? Yes, of course. With an unemployed like you here, I wouldn't have my room. That's why I want you to leave. After all, everything was bought by your parents, right? Leave the computer and chair behind. I'll use them. So, single and unemployed, hurry up and move out. It seems that no matter what I say, Catherine won't listen. She looks down on me. I promptly said, "Please wait a moment," and decided to call my brother, who was likely at work. When he heard Catherine was at our family home, he was quite surprised. And when I told him she was trying to drive me out to move in, he was silent for a few seconds before saying, "I'll ask Catherine to go back home." Apparently, after getting a call from my brother, Catherine glared at me and said, "Don't think you can keep leeching off our brother and parents forever. Get out of this house right now," and then she stormed out, slamming the door behind her. I muttered to myself, "But this house is in my name." Indeed, this house is under my name. I've been working from home and earning money, so I decided to build this house for my parents' later years. Now, we three live here together. My brother knows this, so he wouldn't consider living with us. However, Catherine, unaware of this, keeps calling me unemployed and trying to drive me out of my own house. Moreover, she plans to take over my room's furniture for herself. I can't allow that. When I told my parents about this after they returned, they both said, "We can't tolerate that daughter-in-law anymore." I also learned for the first time that Catherine had been asking my parents for money behind our backs. She claimed they were struggling to live on my brother's earnings. Or she wanted money for gifts for him. When refused, she'd start accusing them of mistreating their daughter-in-law. After seeing their messenger conversation, I realized Catherine's true nature and decided it was best to avoid her. At the same time, we discussed that it was necessary to tell my brother everything about her true nature. So, we invited my brother over while Catherine was at work and held a family meeting, where we decided on a plan. A month later, Catherine contacted me, even though I hadn't given her my contact details. She must have taken it from my brother's phone. She's truly unreasonable. The messenger message she sent said, "It's been a month since then, even an unemployed like you could have moved out by now. I'm coming to that house now. If you're talking about the house you visited last time, I've put it up for sale. Please don't try to enter, it's empty, and entering without permission is trespassing." After I sent this, she quickly responded, apparently avoiding the scenario of storming into our former house unannounced. "What do you mean? You sold the house. I couldn't stand your tyranny anymore. So I decided to move somewhere you don't know about. My parents moved with me. What's that supposed to mean? So you're still unemployed, leeching off your father and mother?" "I'm not an unemployed. Didn't my brother explain to you? Besides, that house was originally mine, bought under my name. There's no way you could have driven me out." "Huh? How can an unemployed like you afford a house? My annual income is $700,000. I saved up and bought the house myself. Why don't you go back and talk to my brother?" Surely, she hadn't had a proper conversation with my brother since. She stormed into our house a month ago and demanded I leave. So, it seems Catherine wasn't listening at all when my brother talked about my job. She was caught off guard by the unexpected turn of events and decided to go back to my brother saying, "Can't be helped. I'll just have to go back and talk to him." A few hours later, she called me repeatedly in a panic. When I reluctantly answered, she was almost crying. What should I do, Emily? Ethan told me he wants a divorce. Even if she tells me this, if my brother wants a divorce, then that's what will happen. There's nothing I can do. Look, surely Ethan is also angry because I tried to kick you out even though you have money. So, can you tell him that you've forgiven me? That should calm him down. What is she even talking about? My brother wouldn't decide to divorce just for that reason. But perhaps Catherine, with her lack of common sense, doesn't understand. Well, I don't think that's the only reason my brother wants to divorce you. Eh? Then why? Your attitude towards me was unbearable, but more importantly, you spoke of moving in with us despite saying you'd build a house together, and you secretly asked my parents for money. That's what angered him. You did things to upset him without any discussion. How is that acceptable in a marriage? Even I would immediately consider divorce in such a situation. So, you're not going to be on my side, Emily. Why should I support someone who tried to kick me out of my own house? And take my computer and chair, a stranger to me? If I were to support anyone, it would be my brother. Please don't ask me for help. I said this and ended the call with her. My brother later told me she was very persistent in not wanting a divorce. Wondering why she was so against the divorce. My brother did some investigation and found out that Catherine had somehow racked up debts with multiple financial companies. Moreover, she had been repaying these debts using their savings for a future home. That explains it. She didn't want a divorce because she wouldn't be able to use their joint savings to pay off her debts. And the fact that she was in debt and using their savings for repayment would be exposed. Despite her pleas, my brother decided to divorce her and hired a lawyer. Her parents even came and apologized, forcibly bowing Catherine's head. Now, Catherine will be taken in by her parents and forced to work every day without rest to pay off her substantial debts. My brother returned to living alone. I offered for him to stay with me, but he declined, saying it would be awkward if I got a boyfriend. It seems like he's expecting me to get married too, so now that things have settled down, I'm thinking about starting to look for a partner.